Selling ice machines since 1975, and I'm always trying to figure out a better way, a better sales pitch, a better delivery, something that's more understandable for people. When I had a meeting with Bill back about a month ago, we reviewed what I was going to talk about, and he gave me some ideas on some things he wanted, and this is what I've come up with. An ice maker is an investment. And too many people rush into it without thinking, or they don't realize the importance of the investment. An ice machine, life expectancy is easy, 10 to 15 years. And if a person is trying to get a good return on their investment, they need to make a good decision. How much ice do you need at one time? The ice storage bin. Limited to how much ice you can put in there. Right. This is a 400 series machine, 400 series bin, but it stores about 310 pounds of ice. Yeah. So if your customer, what you need to know is, when I say how much ice at one time, is if your customer needs ice, and let's say for a construction company, they're only, and if they say, you know, I come in, my employees get here at 7:30 in the morning, they get ice for their trucks, they put ice in the truck, and then they leave. And then they don't come back in the next morning. So 300 pounds of ice is all that they can expect at one time. If it's a convention center, how much ice do you need at one time? If it's a restaurant, what's the largest amount of ice you ever need at one single time? Not throughout the whole day, just at one time. That's going to determine the size of the bin that you need. Now, it also may determine how big a space that you have to allow, but how much ice do you need at one time? Too many times, or most of the time, somebody comes in and they say, I need an ice machine. Well, what do you need? I need 400 pounds of ice a day, or I need a 400-pound machine. Well, do you need 400 pounds of ice at one time, or do you need it all during the day? So how much ice do you need at one time? Too much emphasis is put on this, and not enough is put on this storage bin. A lot of times people are not doing what they need because they can't store enough ice.
Because once the thing is full, it shuts up.
You know, the biggest example of that is under-counter Q model machines or under-counter machines, because the customer looks at it and it's a 210-pound machine. He anticipates getting 210 pounds of ice a day out of it. It only stores 55 pounds. So if he's going to get 200 pounds of ice a day, he's going to have to get up during the middle of the night and get the ice out of it, or it's going to be shut off. When do you need more ice? This is what we call recovery time, or recovery rate. Okay. Let's say, back to the guy that has the construction company. And he says, you know what, I come in the morning and my guys fill up with ice and we take 310 pounds. And then they come back after they have lunch and they take about half of that, about half more. They use about another 100 pounds to recap. Or maybe I got somebody comes in this morning and we need 300 pounds, and then I got another crew that comes in the afternoon and we need 300 pounds. So now that means you're going to need 300 pounds of ice to start with, and then 3 or 4 hours later I need another 300 pounds of ice. So that's recovery rate, how fast you have to recover. You calculate that out by taking the amount of, you know, ice machines are rated by pounds of production per day. So I like to use the 1200 series, the 1400 series machine because it makes 1200 pounds. So if you have a 1400 series machine, in this weather produces about 1200 pounds.
In 24 hours.
In 24 hours. So you divide that by 24, which gives you 50. So the recovery rate, even on a machine that's a 1200 pound, 1400 series machine, the recovery rate is 50 pounds an hour. If you've got a convenience store and they're serving drinks, that a lot of times is the best machine for them, because the most dispensers, countertop dispensers, only hold 300 pounds of ice. So if you have a rush, you take out 200 pounds of ice. They only store 200 pounds. So if you have a rush and you clean that out, it doesn't make any difference that you can make 20 or 1,200 pounds a day. The important thing is, how fast can you recover? Take all your ice out of it. It means it's going to take you 4 hours to fill it back up. at least you'll have some ice, but if you want to refill it before you make rush, you'd have to have a minimum of 4 hours. So it's a combination of how much ice you need at one time and when you're going to need it. And then by putting a bigger bin in there, you could actually have some reserve. So, and you have to look at each situation and find out those key things. When you need ice, the most ice, and then when you need more ice. And if you do it, you can actually even make a graph, because that's your change. Your volume of ice you need a day can change by day, and it can also change by week. You know, I've got some schools, for example, that have an event center where they only open up once a week. They've got a huge bin and a real small machine, because that little small machine can sit there and work and work and work and work
and
and
they
work.
have plenty of ice.
They got plenty of ice. Maybe they need ice twice a week. Maybe on Friday night and Wednesday night, or Friday night and Tuesday night. So you can lower the overall cost of the equipment by putting in a bigger bin and a smaller head.
Even though it works more?
Ice machines are designed to work. They love to work. When we normally size an ice machine, by the way, you want the ice machine to run an average of 16 hours a day. That's the way you normally figure it, is if you can keep up with the machine and run it 16 hours a day. Ice machines are designed to run 10 years of continuous running, or 15 years at 50% of the time. So, and that's a good thing to know, because
10 to 15 years.
10 to 15 years. When Manitowoc goes to its suppliers and says, I want to buy a compressor, well, they need to calculate how good a compressor to put in it. You know, you can get different grades of equipment. If they design a contactor, Manitowoc goes to the contactor manufacturer and says, this contactor needs to last me 10 to 15 years. Well, 10 to 15 years at what duty cycle? And they furnish that information to the manufacturer, and then the manufacturer furnishes Manitowoc the components. Yeah, can you buy cheaper components? Yes, but maybe it doesn't have the tungsten in it, maybe it doesn't have the life expectancy of that. But the design parameters, if your customer wants to know, hey, I'm making a major expense, this is a big expense, you can say, well, it's designed to last 10 to 15 years. Will some of them last longer than that? Sure. Will some of them maybe not make it because of very harsh environments? Maybe the machine won't last 10 years if you put it out on an oil platform in the middle of the Gulf with salt water going on and stuff like that. But normal life expectancy is 10 to 15 years. So, how much ice do you need at one time? What's your recovery rate? Where do you need the ice? Ultimately, this is where you need the ice. Ultimately, your customer, if you're in the restaurant business, he wants it in a cup or something. But let's work out where we want to put it in the location of a restaurant. Years ago, back when I was first started, ice machines were ugly and noisy and hot, because they always ended up back at the back door by the dumpster. You know, that's where my wife says every time I go to a restaurant, I want to park at the dumpster, because I'm used to going in the back door to work on the ice machine. The ice machine was. Over the course of years, though, there's been a transition because of labor cost. Machines have changed. It used to be we go to an ice machine on top of a dispenser. Now you see ice machines on top of dispensers all the time. You go to a McDonald's, they have 3 or 4 ice machines in every store. And McDonald's doesn't throw their money away. Why do they do that? They put the ice machine, the ice, where they need it, so they don't have to transport it. You don't have to carry it through the restaurant. You don't have ice on the floor for customers to trip on and stuff. So where do you want the ice? Do you want to put it on a dispenser? Now, where you put it will determine what kind of condenser you have, and it may determine how big the machine is. You know, we've got models of machines that's this size that produce up to 2,000 pounds of ice. The same physical cabinet. And we can put those very compact, those powerful machines in a small area if that's where you want to put them. The compressor is outside, so there's no noise, there's no heat. So if you want to put it inside a dining room, if we want to put it in there, and we don't want, in this room, if we want to put the ice machine over here, and we don't want to affect the noise level in here, we don't want to affect the heat that's generated in here, we don't want to affect the air conditioning cost, Manitowoc has got a machine for it. So where you want to put the ice can determine what model, whether it's a remote, quiet remote, self-contained. Very important thing. If you don't ask the customer that, most of the time they don't think about it. They have a perceived notion. Well, I went to some place and ice machine's in the back room. Well, that's okay, some places. That's a good place for them. So where do we put the ice? Very important question. Manitowoc makes several different sizes of ice, different types of ice. Nugget, flake, cube, cocktail cube, regular cube, which is a large cube that we've reintroduced, 1 1/8 by 1 1/8, dice, 7/8 by 7/8, half dice. I prefer blondes. That's a preference. Oh, I prefer brunette. My wife's a brunette. That's a preference. People have preferences. It's hard to talk against a preference. If somebody wants nugget ice, I can give them 50 reasons why no, not 50, 10 reasons why nugget ice is more expensive, all kinds of things. But if they prefer nugget ice, don't get an argument with your customer. Now, in reality, if you want to be a good service to your customer, you may need to explain something, but if they are set on a certain type of ice, give them what they want. And that's why I broke that down into how much, what do you prefer, versus the next question is, do you want to make a profit? What type of ice do you make a profit? And I've broken ice into two big categories as far as what I think a restaurant or your customers make. Is ice food or is ice a snack? Ice is food. You're going to go to a steakhouse. Where do you want me to take you? I'm going to take you to lunch at a steakhouse. Where would you advise me taking you?
Longhorn.
Okay. Longhorn? Okay. What type of ice do they have there? You don't know, do you? It won't determine whether you go there and eat or not, will it?
No.
Because you're going for the food. You're going for steak. Cube ice is more profitable for the owner than nugget ice or flake ice. The machines last longer, the warranties are better, it holds up better. Lots of reasons. You can go down the list, but cube ice will make the person more profit. It's not, and it's not going to bring in any more customers because you're going there for the food. If you're going to a steakhouse, you're going to a steakhouse. You're going for fish, you're going to fish, but you don't know. So if it's purely that, now if the owner of the place says, yeah, but I really like the nugget ice, well, that's preference. If you want to offer your customer the nugget ice along with your steak, that's okay, but you're not going to make as much profit. Yeah. I had a good customer of mine, been in business for a long time. He called me one day, he said, Gene, I need a 400-pound machine. And he said, by the way, I don't care about the features and benefits. I don't care how long it's going to last me. I sold my restaurant. And in my contract, I'm supposed to furnish the guy a new ice machine.
So he didn't care.
He didn't care. You know, and I sell to a lot of different customers and a lot of different dealers, and a lot of dealers don't care. A lot of dealers don't care if the customer's going to be happy. They're interested in the sale. A lot of dealers have salespeople that get spiffs. The only thing that makes them happy. But it's back to the customer. That's another story. Back to the customer. I got a customer that builds franchises, and he sells them in a package. And when he's sold, he doesn't care how much profit the franchisee makes. His deal is done. So he wants to put the cheapest ice machine in there he can put in there. So how long do you plan? It's a kind of a funny way to say it, a little crude way to say it. Well, how long do you plan to be in business? You know, if you're planning to go broke in a week, go buy it from somebody else, and I don't care what, you know, or buy it from me and go broke in a week. Pay me cash. How long? Because if we start to determine the operational cost, one of the major concerns is, how long are we going to stretch this out? You know, a lot of chains plan on remodeling every 5 years. Well, if they remodel it every 5 years, that means the life expectancy of the ice machine is 5 years. Now, so what does that mean? If my machine, or if the Manitowoc machine costs more than brand S, and it's $300 difference, would the customer probably buy the cheaper brand? Probably so. But let's say there's $1,200 difference. Definitely buy the other one, right? Now, let's say he's going to be in business for 10 years. $1,200 is a lot. But over 10 years, $120 difference. That's how much a month? $10. So if I can show somebody how they can save something $10 a month on my Manitowoc over the other one, suddenly the $1,200 isn't such a big deal. Now we know there's not going to be $1,200 difference in the cost. I use exaggerations. But the longer it is, now go for 15 years, then this gets real small. And when we're talking about comparing and saving money, and I'll show you in the next few examples, and a little bit when we talk about the Indigo, if you can break it down, you can show a customer a lot of ways to save money with the Indigo compared to other brands. So how long you're going to have the machine starts the basis on trying to justify the cost difference. Now, if we're getting back to, on the other hand, $300 over 15 years, that's nothing. That's one service call a year. That's less than a service call a year. That's less than one cleaning a year. Back when we introduced the S model machine, and this is the follow-up of the S. Internally, it looks like an S model inside. It's got the same cleaning benefits of the S model. Sanitation is important. How important is it to somebody? Really?
It should be really important.
It should be real important to somebody. But somebody they don't care. If they don't care, you beat your guns up if you're trying to prove to them sanitation is important. However, if you say, you know what, every time you clean this machine, it's going to save, it takes 4.5 to 5.5 hours to clean a Hoshi. It takes an hour and a half to clean a Manitowoc. So if he cleans it once a year, it's going to save 3 hours. If he's having his own employees, that may be $60 to $80, depending on his employees. Maybe if it's a minimum, nobody has a minimum price guy working on his ice machine. If you're having a service company do it at $90 an hour, 3 hours, that's $270 a year in savings in cleaning, if you just clean it once a year. Now, if they want to listen to stuff like that, I think the better question is, when I say how important it is, what are you willing to pay to have a machine that you don't spend all this money in maintenance and cleaning?
Right.
That's what we're talking about. If you clean it twice a year, that's $500 a year.
But I mean, if you clean it the way you're supposed to, know that's going to last you a lot longer, isn't it?
Well, there's different types of cleaning.
Oh.
That's one thing. We use the term cleaning. Well, does that mean clean the condenser?
Okay.
Does that mean clean the inside? Does that mean cleaning scale? Because to some people, cleaning scale is the only thing. Cleaning scale will definitely affect the operation of the equipment, how long it lasts. The other kind of cleaning I normally think of, or the cleaning we originally started with, was sanitation. Sanitation is slime, algae, dirt, that stuff that gets in your drinks. Not necessarily going to keep the machine from working, but I would like to think that if I was in a restaurant, they'd clean their pots and pans more than once a year. Why don't they clean their ice machine more than once a year? Is it important enough to spend money? Is sanitation an important issue enough to spend money? And if you save it, if you spend it, how am I going to get the money back? You're spending the money when you buy the Indigo to get the cleaning. Now, this is how you're going to get the money back. Is my energy cost important? Yeah, it's very important. When you're talking about a kilowatt of energy difference to make 100 pounds of ice. You know, if my machine makes it for 6 kilowatts, 6 kWh per hour versus somebody else's that does it for 7, that doesn't sound like much. 1 kilowatt. Or 13 cents, 12 cents per 100 kilowatts. If I can, so for 100 kilowatts of energy, one using 6 and one versus 7, you're saving 100 kilowatt, 1 kWh of energy, which is 13 cents, 10 cents. So if your machine makes 300 pounds a day, that's 30 cents. Figure it out over 365 days a year, over 5 years. It doesn't take much energy to save a lot of money. It doesn't save very many kWhs to save a lot of money on the ice machine. So most people say it's important. Now, again, this is an outline. So if you're talking to a customer you have no history with, you may not be able to do some research before you talk to somebody. But if you know your customer and you know that they think energy is important, get prepared. Look up your cost differences between one model machine versus another. A lot of times I can talk to a customer and sell them an 800 instead of a 600, or I can sell them a half dice instead of a dice because the energy cost differences are different on those different models. No manufacturer, including Manitowoc, can stand up in front of you and say, we are the most energy efficient. Manitowoc has more high energy efficient models than the other manufacturers, but if you want to pick Manitowoc hard on a certain model, or if I want to pick up on a different manufacturer, you got to compare model to model. In a lot of instances, you got to compare cube size to cube size. If you look at the 800 series machine, there's almost 100 pounds difference in production between a dice cube and a half dice cube, which is going to affect your efficiency. So energy cost is very, very important. Water usage is one of the, water consumption is the least expensive thing in the ice machine. When we're talking about cost.
It's the least expensive.
It's the least. It's, you know, $2 per 1,000 gallons. You break it down. However you look at it, when you look at it, you cannot justify spending $100 more on an ice machine because of the energy cost. However, and the reason I stated the question the way I did, is a lot of people, water consumption is important. You know, I'm in Corpus. I draw my water out of the river. We're always low on water. I'm trying to conserve water. If I'm trying to conserve water as a public service or as a right thing to do, then it's important, but you can't justify it on